Here's 26 ways to get more out of ChatGPT, from underrated features to optimizing your settings. We're going to start with 5 simple improvements to how you write your prompts. So the first tip is to install a text expander. This allows you to save all the good prompts you come across. I'm going to share 6 of my favorite at the end of this video, and you can then just insert them into GPT from typing a single word. So for example, if I type in .website, it inserts my prompt for building a website. So the text expander I recommend is this one. It has this little icon here that you can just pull in your prompts. So if you go to a Chrome web store or similar on Mozilla, it's this one here. Second tip is to start by improving your prompt. Don't just go straight in and ask your questions. So this is called meta prompting. It's one of the easiest ways to significantly improve what you get back from GPT. So I have something I call my ultimate prompt. It's how I start most sessions with GPT. And basically what this does is it initially asks me what I want the prompt to be about. It then rates that prompt, critiques it, comes up with ways to improve it, and asks me questions that I then give answers, and then it iterates through that process, improving the prompt. So you can see here, it's asking what would I like the prompt to be about. If I say New Year resolutions, we can type that in, and it's going to come back and give me a prompt. It's going to probably rate it quite low, and then give me a bunch of questions here, which I could then answer. So you can see it's rated at 7 out of 10. It's given me some questions to answer. If I then reply, it's going to come back and say it's probably an 8 out of 10, but the prompt gets better and better with each iteration. Tip 3, speak your prompts. Most people can type around 40 words per minute, but can type up to 150 words per minute. So AI models generally benefit from more context. This is a really easy way to give the model 3 times as much context in the same amount of time. Also pretty big deal if you use AI on your phone, where typing speeds are even slower. So most apps, including GPT, have this little microphone icon where you can just dictate your prompt. If you're on a computer, you can also use something like Whisperflow, where you can just hit the spacebar and talk, and then it's going to convert that to text. Also turns out this is really handy if you have a baby asleep on you, where it's really difficult to type, so you can just speak and it's going to fill out forms for you. So tips 4 and 5. This research was done which found 26 principles that reliably improved the response that AI models generated by about 60%. So the most impactful principles from this research were principle 14, which is encouraging the AI model to ask you questions before it generates its response, similar to what we did in the meta prompting example, where it asked us some clarifying questions and it used that to improve the final prompt. And 26, which is to provide examples and be specific about what we want to be similar to that example. So for example, if I were building an automotive website, I could go to Ling's Cars, take a screenshot of this, and when I go to ChatGPT, I can drop that screenshot in. So I want a automotive website with the unique style and flair of this site, and I specifically want the chicken gifs, and it's going to do that. Boom. Right, we're going to move on to hidden settings. So tip number 6 is go into personalization and add some custom instructions. This information gets sent along with every prompt that you type into GPT. So it's a really good place to say that you want it to ask you clarifying questions before providing an answer. I also mentioned things like challenge my assumptions, explain reasoning step by step, do not be sycophantic. That basically means don't just tell me what I want to hear, actually challenge some of what I'm saying. I also find mentioning a few things about myself, what my goals are, the fact that I'm British, so tailor advice accordingly, and that I'm a visual learner, so provide visuals where possible. You can obviously adjust this based on how you use GPT, but it's a good place to just add a little bit more context. So tip number 7 is to turn on memory. This allows GPT to remember certain things about you. So this can be a little bit terrifying. If you click into manage, you'll see some of the things that GPT has picked up from previous conversations. It might take, for example, if you've mentioned your height or your occupation or one of the things that you're dealing with at the moment, it's going to save certain things, and that can be helpful. But from a privacy perspective, you may want to occasionally go in there and remove anything you're not happy with. So tip number 8 is to turn on reference chat history. This goes one step beyond memory and allows GPT to reference things that you've told it in other chat conversations. So depending on how you use GPT, you may or may not want to turn this on, but it is ultimately going to make the responses that GPT gives you a little bit better. One thing just to be aware of though is it does kind of lock you into GPT and make it a little bit harder to move over to a different AI model, because as the context builds up and gets better and better, it's going to be very difficult to transfer that over to a different AI model. Tip 9, go into data controls, and where it says improve the model for everyone, turn that off unless you want GPT to be training its model on the private information that you share with it. So tip number 10 is to get into the habit of changing the model. You can see here it's set to auto, it's using GPT 5.1. It's not bad, but generally to get better quality answers, you want it to spend more time reasoning. So you can always set it to thinking, and use the extended thinking option. It's going to take a bit more time to give you answers, but they'll be better quality. Now, don't always assume that the higher the number or the latest model is the best one. You can always go to lmarena.ai, which shows which models are best at different types of tasks. And as you can see at the moment here down at the overview, GPT 4.5 and GPT 4.0 are actually higher ranking models overall than GPT 5, though there are certain tasks that GPT 5 beats those previous models in. And for tip 11, the final setting change before we talk about GPTs and assistants is to go into personalization, scroll down to advanced, and turn on web search. This allows GPT to go and search websites to get the latest information. You also want to make sure you turn on connector search. We'll come back to connectors later in the video. So we're going to shift our focus to some underrated features in ChatGPT, starting with GPTs. So you can think of GPTs as kind of like clones of ChatGPT that have very specific instructions. So if, for example, you want to get jacked in 2026, you can see there's lots of lifting focused GPTs that people have created, including one specifically focused on glutes. So if we click into that, we can see, I believe, how it's been given instructions. So we can start a chat. So we can tell it, create me a glute focused resistance program, and it's going to give us this. We can ask it questions back and forward. And generally what you find with GPTs that have been given these very specific instructions is the quality or the depth of information they provide is better than just using ChatGPT directly, because someone has specifically trained it for that use case. Tip 13 is to build your own. So if you go to GPTs over here, you can click create in the top right hand corner, and on configure, you can add your own instructions. So this is one that I created to help me debug issues in ActiveCampaign. If we click edit GPT, you can see here that I've given it a ton of information about ActiveCampaign and how to debug issues. It's also got some conversation starters, so I can just go here if I want it to build me an automation sequence or something. A couple of cool things about GPTs, so you can upload your own knowledge. So if you've got a bunch of spreadsheets or PDFs, information that would be useful to train your GPT, you can upload that here. You can set the recommended model, give it access to things like writing code or accessing the web, and you can also decide whether you want this to be private to you or whether you want to share it with a wider community. Tip 14 is to use voice mode. This is where you have a back and forth conversation with GPT. It's really helpful if you're in a different tab and you want GPT to walk you through how to do something. So for example, you can turn it on here and say, can you walk me through how to create a pivot table in Google Sheets?
Absolutely, let's do that. So to walk through it again, you open up your Google Sheet, select the data range you want to use, and then go to the data menu and choose pivot table. Once it pops up the sheet, you'll have a sidebar on the right where you can pick your rows.
You get the idea. Now, our final tip before we cover some different ways of connecting GPT to your other tools is projects. So projects allows you to give different custom instructions, different files, different context and training for different areas of your life or different ways in which you use GPT. So you could, for example, create a separate project for work, writing a newsletter, and your new founded glute training program. And that's going to prevent your glute progress updates finding their way into your newsletter. That was a weird example. Moving on. So GPT becomes exponentially better when you move away from using it just as an answer engine to integrating it into your day-to-day workflow and the tools that you actually use. So the easiest way of doing this is with connectors. And if you go down here and select agent mode, you'll need to be on a paid plan for this. You can then click this drop down and you'll see that there are a few connectors. So if you're a developer, you can connect it to GitHub. That gives it access to your code. Gmail, it's going to have obviously access to emails. Google Drive is a really good one because then it can access files and documents that you've created. Super helpful for referencing information that might be in spreadsheets, for example. So this is pretty straightforward to set up. You just click connect and then walk through this process. You're going to need to authenticate access like this. Go through all of this, and then that's going to give ChatGPT access to all of your files in your Google Drive, which is equal parts terrifying and incredible. So you'll need to click on this again and just turn that on. And now if I ask it a question that is in a document, how did I score in my last round of golf? Let's see if it finds the answer. Let's see if I even want to know the answer. There you go. So it's searching Google Drive. Now, this document is not particularly well labeled or set up, so I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't find it. Okay, it's found the right spreadsheet. This is the spreadsheet I use to track all of my golf scores. August sounds like the last time I played golf. Oh, that's depressing. I haven't played golf in 3 months. There we go. Scored 52. 52 is an unusual score for 18 holes. It was absolutely 9 holes. There we go. Okay, so it's come back with 52, and if I go to the actual spreadsheet, we can see that it's got that right. Now, the only downside with connectors is there's only like 5 currently. So if you want to connect ChatGPT to a wider range of tools, there's 2 other things we can do. So a couple of weeks ago, OpenAI announced their agent builder. This is a really simple interface for creating AI workflows. I'll quickly show you how it looks. So if you've used or heard of or come across things like NAN or Make.com, very similar but very kind of easy to use. So you can use this to connect ChatGPT or OpenAI to various different tools that you use, and the range of tools you have access to is much wider. So how you do this, you can click on Agent, click Tools, and then click MCP Server. I'll explain MCP in a bit more detail in just a moment, but you can see here that we can connect to a range of different tools, and we've got a few more options here. We can connect to Zapier, Intercom, Stripe, PayPal, etc. So once you do that, you can just give instructions here as if you were writing a prompt, publish that. You can even add a fancy front-end UI if you want to do that. And that's going to give you a kind of a version of ChatGPT that you can access that has access to your tools. So let's talk about MCP. MCP, or Model Context Protocol, is just a fancy way of basically connecting different AI models to your tools in a safe, kind of agreed upon standard. So if we drag a MCP server over here like this, if you click into it, you can see that we can connect different tools or servers to our AI models. So if we go to the Zapier one, for example, all of these, you can just get the instructions on how to connect them. So once it's done, you can then kind of use it. So in this case, if we click Get API Key, we can get an API key from Zapier. We'll just need to go through the instructions. I'm going to select ChatGPT, create that MCP server, and then in this case, we can then just connect it to a tool that we want to give access to. So we can just do Gmail, for example. You can connect to literally any tool if you're using Zapier. Then if we go to connect, we should get an API key. We can copy that, and back in GPT, in the MCP setup, you can just drop your API key here, and then that's connected. And in this case, what you could then do, for example, I'd probably add this as a tool rather than do it like this. You could then tell this AI agent, you are my inbox assistant, please find relevant emails. So what this now means is if I were to publish or use this agent, I could ask it a question like, can you get me the last invoice in my email? And the agent is now able to go and find emails in my inbox because of this Zap integration. Kind of a bad example because technically I could just enable the inbox connector. But if you wanted to connect to Notion, Slack, or any other tool that isn't in that default list of connectors, or build a kind of a multi-step workflow, an MCP is the method through which you can connect OpenAI to hundreds, if not thousands, of other tools. So before I share 6 of my favorite prompts, tip number 19 is to incorporate GPT into your browser. Now, one way of doing this is to download ChatGPT Atlas. This is their own browser. It's pretty new. Personally, I don't love it. I've had a play around with it and I don't particularly like it. It's built on Chromium, so it's designed to kind of feel and look like Google Chrome, but I just find it a little bit underwhelming. But there are a couple of cool features. The main one being that you can just click Ask ChatGPT, it opens up GPT in this little side panel here. And what's really cool about this is that it has context about what you're looking at, the pages that you have open. So if you wanted to copy an image or kind of process some data, you don't need to copy and paste that into GPT. It's already got all of that in its context window. But as I mentioned, I'm not a huge fan of Atlas, at least not yet. It still just feels a bit unfamiliar and a bit kind of buggy to use. So I like to incorporate GPT into Chrome, the browser that I actually use. And my favorite way of doing this is to change it as my default search engine. So if you go into your settings, go to search engine, and if you click manage search engines, you can just go down here and let's just change this one to GPT and change the URL to this one. And if you put this in as the search, it means anything you type into your browser search bar now is going to search ChatGPT by default. So let's move on to our final 6 tips. These are 6 New Year's themed prompts that you can do to get better results in 2026. So the first one is my anti-goals prompt. This is about helping you understand what not to do in the year ahead. Now, I'm not going to run each of these prompts. I'm just going to share them here and I'll pop them in the description below and you can copy, paste them and have a play around. So the next prompt is about getting actionable insights from books. If you're reading a non-fiction book and you're like, I kind of get the point, I just want to get the outcomes or the actions from it, you can use this prompt. So you need to enter a few bits here, but if you're reading a book, let's say Morgan Housel's Art of Spending Money, you can just insert that here, art of spending money. And you could say, I want to spend money better, to whatever your goal is, to be financially free. Guide me through the process as described in the book Art of Spending Money by Morgan Housel. Give me a specific example from the book, and then you could add more information there. In light of the information, act as the author and critique the result. Note where it could be improved to be more effective based on the author's experience of helping people financially. So you can do something like that as an example, but it's really good for kind of getting the AI to act as the author and use their own material to provide you with insights based on your circumstance. So really good. Next prompt is around vibe coding. So everyone is vibe coding in 2026. This is a really good starting prompt for getting vibe coding tools like Lovable, Bolt, Cursor to start with the right point, because often with vibe coding, the starting prompt sets the trajectory for the whole project, and you want that starting prompt to be as good as possible. So if you are doing vibe coding in 2026, copy this prompt, it will save you a lot of time. Next, we have a prompt around creating New Year's resolutions. So every year I like to do an end of year review and spend quite a lot of time thinking about what went well, what didn't go well, what values are, where I want to focus, all that kind of stuff. So this prompt will kind of walk you through that process and ask you lots of questions and help to sort of steer some of the changes that you might want to make in the year ahead. So this next prompt is an absolute killer. This is my strategic advisor prompt. I think I got this in some WhatsApp group I was in. But it basically says you've got an IQ of 180, you're brutally honest and have expertise in psychology, blah, 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 blah. And this is really good at helping you identify blind spots and uncover areas of your thinking that need a little bit of work. So if you're tackling with a big decision or finding yourself going around in circles, this is a really helpful prompt to get unblocked. Next one, we have a pre-mortem prompt. So imagine it is December 2026 and I've completely failed to achieve my goal of insert goal. List the probable reasons why I failed, ranging from internal mindset to external interruptions, then propose a preventative solution for the top 3 threats. Last but not least, a prompt around habit friction reduction. So if you've read James Clear's Atomic Habit, he puts a lot of emphasis on designing your environment to help set you up for success with your habits that you want to enforce, with habit changes that you want to make. So you can tell it, I want to build a habit of X, but I constantly find myself, reason why you don't do it. Using James Clear's Atomic Habits framework, make it obvious, attractive, easy, etc. Give me a plan to redesign my environment. That could be your phone settings, it could be your living room, your office, whatever, to make the habit inevitable and the bad habit difficult. So I hope you found that useful. Hope you found this video useful. If you did, please hit the like button and share any good prompts you come across in the comments below. Otherwise, see you in the next video.